Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Today, we're cracking open Nikola Tesla's autobiography.
Tesla.
And this book, it's not easy to find.
Really?
It's like this hidden gem. The editor actually found it at a used bookstore.
No kidding.
Yeah, for like $2.50. But the real treasure,
What's that?
getting to hear Tesla in his own words, his thoughts, his experiences.
That's pretty special to get that kind of insight.
It's going way beyond the inventions. We're talking about the things that shaped him,
Yeah, the man behind the legend.
Exactly. Childhood visions, brushes with death,
Wow.
and this unwavering belief in the power of the human mind.
It's all right there in those pages.
Okay, so first things first, his family. Clearly, they played a huge role in his inventive spirit.
It seems like it, yeah.
His father, a religious man, but with this incredible memory,
I've heard about that. Photographic almost.
practically could recite entire books.
Amazing.
And sharp wit, too.
Right, but I think what's interesting is, despite that religious background, there was also a scientific bent to him.
Oh, yeah, a natural philosopher, they called him. Curious about the universe,
So young Nikola is exposed to this blend of faith and scientific inquiry right from the start.
Yeah, a unique mix, for sure.
Definitely.
And then there's his mother, an inventor herself.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Tesla credits her with instilling that love for invention, that drive to make things better.
I can see that.
And get this, even in her 60s, she could tie 3 knots in an eyelash.
Wow, that's some serious dexterity.
Right. Makes you wonder what it was like in that household.
I know, right?
Mhm.
Like, were they having knot tying competitions?
Maybe, but seriously, you can see how he got that mix of intellectual curiosity, practical skills, that determination.
It's all there.
It wasn't all easy, though. He talks about his brother, who died young,
Oh, right.
and he describes him as a genius, and you get this sense, that Tesla felt overshadowed.
Makes sense trying to find his own place.
Doubting his own abilities.
I wonder if that fueled his drive, though.
To prove himself.
Yeah.
It's a good question. And then there's this incident with an alderman. Sees young Tesla, refuses to give him a silver coin, says, "You're too smart."
Ouch.
Right. Almost prophetic, don't you think?
Yeah, like foreshadowing the resistance he faced later on.
For being ahead of his time.
Exactly.
And then there were these intense mental images. Flashes of light plagued him from childhood.
That must have been.
I know. At first they were tormenting, but he learned to control them, even use them to enhance his observation, his visualization skills.
They became a strength.
Yeah. He even talks about mentally traveling to new places as a way to escape those images.
Wow.
That's where you start to see the emergence of his incredible visualization abilities.
Right. The things he could picture in his mind. Perfectly.
He said he could mentally run his inventions.
And the results always matched.
Amazing.
Imagine that kind of mental clarity.
It's mind-boggling. And to think it came from what was, at first, a struggle.
He turned it around.
That resilience, turning weakness into strength.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like he's saying, don't let challenges define you.
Transform them.
Right.
And we see that theme, transformation, again and again in his life.
Definitely. So let's move on to his early inventions. You see this drive, this relentless drive to,
Harness nature's power.
yes, harness the energies of nature, put them to work for humanity.
And he tells these amazing stories about his childhood creations.
Like what?
Like a frog catching hook.
Yeah.
So efficient, it just outperformed everyone else's.
He was always coming up with something, wasn't he? Even as a kid.
It was tinkering, yeah. But there was purpose, a desire to find solutions.
Not just playing around.
Exactly. And then there's the Maybug motor.
The what?
He used bugs, the power of bugs, to create a spinning motor.
No way.
Yeah.
That's classic Tesla.
Right.
Using what's around him, exploring possibilities.
He understood natural forces. And he could turn even the simplest things into tools for discovery.
Amazing.
Oh, and we can't forget his fascination with Niagara Falls.
Of course, that played a huge role later on.
As a child, he dreamed of building this giant water wheel there.
And he did it.
He did, foreshadowing on a grand scale.
It makes you wonder, what seemingly small things we're fascinated by now? What might they lead to?
Right. What seeds are we planting?
Exactly.
Okay, now let's talk about a pivotal moment. the birth of the AC motor.
Oh.
Tesla's at the Polytechnic School in Graz becomes fixated on creating this brushless motor.
A revolutionary concept.
But not everyone was on board.
There's always resistance to new ideas.
One of his professors even dismissed it, called it a perpetual motion scheme. Impossible, he said.
But Tesla didn't give up.
He didn't. He describes this moment in the city park. The solution for the AC motor, it just hit him like a bolt of lightning.
While he was reciting Goethe's Faust.
It's amazing, right? He even compares the feeling to Pygmalion, seeing his statue come to life.
That feeling of sudden inspiration, witnessing an idea becoming real.
And that idea, it powers so much of our world today.
It's incredible.
So here we have this young man driven by that childhood fascination with harnessing nature.
Overcoming doubt, skepticism.
To make a world-changing breakthrough.
And this is just the beginning. It's amazing how Tesla goes beyond the AC motor to an invention, one he actually considered even more important.
More important than the AC motor.
He thought so. The magnifying transmitter.
Okay, now we're getting into some really intriguing territory. This isn't just about powering homes anymore.
No, this is about harnessing energy on a whole other level, amplifying it.
So what was this magnifying transmitter? What was it supposed to do?
Imagine a device that can transmit power wirelessly over vast distances.
Wireless power. That's revolutionary.
That was the idea. It was a culmination of years of work. Tesla was fascinated by what he called the magnification of feeble actions.
Magnification of feeble actions. That sounds, I don't know, almost like science fiction.
It does, doesn't it? But he traces this fascination back to a childhood experience.
Oh, what happened?
Picture this. Young Nikola, he witnesses this massive avalanche, triggered by, get this, a tiny snowball.
Wow. So this small action having these huge consequences.
That image stuck with him, sparked this lifelong quest to understand how small actions could have these enormous impacts.
It's amazing how these little moments from our childhood can shape us, right?
Absolutely. And for Tesla, it led him to believe that we could tap into, amplify these subtle energies in the universe.
And the magnifying transmitter was his way of doing that.
Exactly.
Okay, so how did it actually work? Give us the technical details.
Well, it's complicated, but the basic principle was creating resonant vibrations within the Earth's electromagnetic field.
Okay, so using that resonance to transmit power, kind of like radio waves carry sound.
That was the idea.
So a world without power lines.
He envisioned it, yeah. And it went even further than that. His world system, he called it.
The world system.
A global network. Not just transmitting power, but facilitating communication on an unprecedented scale.
He was talking about a global network before the internet even existed.
He was way ahead of his time. Wireless communication across the globe. A global telephone network.
It's incredible how many of his ideas, foreshadowed things we have today.
He was a visionary. Transmitting pictures, documents, even controlling machines remotely.
Wow. What about the Wardenclyffe Tower? Wasn't that supposed to be part of this world system?
It was. A pilot plant for his wireless power transmission experiments.
But it was never finished, right?
Right. Financial difficulties, the tower was eventually demolished.
I've always heard that the government was involved in that. Is that true?
That's a common misconception. The demolition was purely a financial decision.
So no conspiracy there.
No, Tesla was actually very patriotic. He always maintained his work was for the benefit of humanity, especially the United States.
Interesting. So this groundbreaking world system, it remained a vision, but his work with wireless power, it didn't stop there, did it?
Not at all. He kept refining his ideas, experimenting. His work with teleautomatics is a great example.
Teleautomatics. Okay, now you've lost me. What's that?
Think of it like the early days of robotics. Remote control. Tesla believed machines could be controlled remotely, without wires, using those electromagnetic waves.
So like robots?
In a way, yeah. He even built a demonstration boat. He could control it wirelessly.
A robot boat? Seriously?
It blew people's minds back then. They were watching this boat move on its own, responding to his commands.
I can imagine. So he was basically predicting drones over a century ago.
You could say that. He believed machines could fight wars for us, make human combat obsolete.
That's a little unsettling. Was he like glorifying war?
No, not at all. His point was that technology could make war so destructive that it would become unthinkable.
So he was thinking about the ethical implications even back then.
Absolutely. And he understood that technology alone couldn't solve the problem of conflict. He saw war as a problem of distance.
Distance.
Physical and psychological distance.
Interesting. So how did he think we could overcome that?
Annihilate distance, he said. Through better communication, understanding, connection between people.
Use technology to bridge those divides, not create more.
Exactly. And it's so relevant today, isn't it? Think about how technology can both connect us and isolate us.
It's true. But let's get back to Tesla's mind for a minute. Didn't he also believe that humans were essentially automata?
He did. And it wasn't just some philosophical idea. It was a deep conviction. He saw humans as complex machines responding to external stimuli.
So no free will.
He questioned it, yeah. He thought we often mistake our responses for free will.
That's a bold statement. Did he have any evidence to back that up?
Well, he talked about a phenomenon he called cosmic pain. He had experienced physical discomfort when someone he cared about was treated unfairly.
That's a little creepy.
He noticed that the people who were doing those unfair things, they often suffered misfortune soon afterward.
Like karma.
He saw it as more evidence of his automata theory, that we're all connected in ways we don't fully understand, that our actions have consequences.
Wow, that's a lot to unpack. But before we go too far down that road, I do want to touch on one more thing. Tesla's near-death experiences.
Ah, yes, those are fascinating. He had several. Describe them in vivid detail.
The one that stands out to me is the vision of his mother shortly before her death.
Right, he initially thought it was supernatural.
A ghost story.
But later, he found a more rational explanation.
Wait, so he debunked his own ghost story?
He did, which really shows his commitment to scientific inquiry, always looking for a rational explanation, even for the most unusual things.
So even in the face of the seemingly impossible, he remained grounded in science. That's pretty cool. But speaking of grounding, Tesla had some strong opinions about how technology should be used, right? Especially in warfare.
He did. And his views are, if anything, more relevant now than ever.
What did he think?
He was a strong advocate for peace. He believed technology should be used to prevent war, not to wage it.
That makes sense. It's something we're still grappling with today, especially with AI, autonomous weapons.
Right, and he didn't think technology was the problem.
What was it then?
Exalted ideals of national egoism and pride, he called them. Those nationalistic sentiments, he saw them as the root of conflict.
So basically he was saying, use technology to build bridges, not walls.
Exactly. To promote communication, collaboration, shift our focus from competition to cooperation.
A powerful message, especially today. So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive into Nikola Tesla, it's amazing how relevant his ideas still are, even with all these new technologies, things he couldn't have even imagined.
I know. Makes you wonder, what would he think of, I don't know, the internet, smartphones, AI?
Right.
He'd probably be thrilled by the possibilities, but also, I think, cautious about the downsides.
Yeah, he was always worried about technology being misused, especially for destruction, for war.
Always pushing for science to be used for good, for progress.
Speaking of his impact, it's hard to ignore how, I don't know, iconic he's become.
Oh, yeah?
Movies, books. There's even a car company named after him.
He's almost more than just a historical figure now. He's a symbol.
Of what?
Of, I don't know, pure innovation, genius. Why do you think that is? What is it about Tesla that still captures people's imaginations?
I think it's that boldness of his vision. He wasn't just inventing things. He was imagining a whole new world, transformed by technology.
Energy flowing freely, global communication.
Exactly. And let's not forget the man himself. He had that showmanship, that flair for the dramatic.
He knew how to put on a show.
And those predictions he made, as crazy as they sounded back then.
A lot of them came true.
Wireless power, global networks, even self-driving cars. He was talking about all this stuff decades ago.
Like he could see into the future. It's fascinating. He represents that potential, that human potential to imagine, to create things that seem impossible.
He challenges us to think bigger.
To push the boundaries.
And that's a powerful legacy.
Absolutely. It's not just about the inventions, it's about that spirit of innovation, the pursuit of knowledge.
The belief that we can make a better future.
Right. So, as we wrap up our deep dive into Nikola Tesla.
Any final takeaways for our listeners?
Well, I think one of the biggest lessons is that even the most brilliant minds, they're shaped by their experiences, by challenges, by their unique way of seeing the world.
It reminds us to be curious, to question things, to use our imaginations.
And that progress, it's a journey. It takes vision and it takes action.
Tesla's legacy shows us what human ingenuity can accomplish, and it challenges us to use our own talents to make a difference.
I think it's fitting to end with one of his quotes. He believed that the greatest good will come from technical improvements tending to unification and harmony.
That's powerful. It makes you think, what can we do to make sure technology is used for good? How can we live up to that vision?
Those are the questions we should all be asking. Tesla's life, his work, it's a source of inspiration. But it's up to us to carry the torch, to make choices that align with our values, to create a world worthy of his legacy.
Well said. And with that, we encourage you to keep exploring Tesla's story. Delve deeper into his inventions, his ideas. Let that spirit of innovation spark something in you.
There's so much to discover. His patents, his writings, all the books and documentaries about him.
Maybe you'll be the next Tesla, bringing those seemingly impossible dreams to life.
Anything's possible. He said it himself. The present is theirs. The future for which I really worked is mine.
And until next time, keep diving deep. Keep those imaginations firing.